This is Stettin, in the Baltic, in Poland actually, just over the border from Germany, the northernmost part of what will become the Iron Curtain. From Stettin in the Baltic. To Trieste in the Adriatic. That's the Adriatic. An Iron Curtain has descended across the continent. The Cold War lasted from 1945 to 1991. It pretty much dominated the second half of the 20th century. And it was a war of ideologies, it was a war of politics, it was a war of economic structures, which was going to be most important, between the United States and the Soviet Union. And this era of competition between the two meant that most countries in the world, by 1991, had to choose a side. They were either going to be on the Soviet side under communism, or they were going to be on the American side and embrace democracy. The reason it's called a Cold War is because there never was a direct, hot military confrontation between the United States and the Soviet Union. And that was because direct military confrontation would have meant nuclear war. By 1950, the Soviet Union had nuclear weapons. The United States had developed them by 1945. And the scale of devastation that a direct conflict between the US and the Soviet Union would have left is just unprecedented. It was Winston Churchill who gave a name to this division. In 1946, he was invited by US President Harry Truman to Fulton, Missouri, and he gave the famous Iron Curtain speech.
From Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an Iron Curtain has descended across the continent.
Here in Trieste, Italy, the border is about 20 miles that direction, eastward. Behind that border, Slovenia was the beginning of the Eastern Bloc. It was the beginning of the other side of the Iron Curtain. The Cold War defined American foreign policy for the rest of the 20th century. This was the era of espionage, of spies, the creation of the CIA. The whole agenda of the United States foreign politics until 1991 was really focused on this idea of containment of communism, containing communism, not allowing it to spread any more than where it already was. Containment meant creating new alliances. NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, was created in the wake of World War II as a way to try to contain the impact of the Soviet Union. It meant pushing billions of dollars into new defense projects, into military spending. It meant competition against the Soviet Union in every area, whether it was economic or political or sports. The Olympics were always a huge deal between the United States and the Soviet Union, because whenever one country won an event, it proved supremacy over the other. The Cold War also defined the personalities of those who grew up during that time period. Men like Vladimir Putin, who had been a KGB operative, the Soviet equivalent of the CIA. He had been a spy during the Cold War. The Cold War began to come to a close in 1989 as a series of democratic revolutions swept across Eastern Europe. In November of that year, the Berlin Wall came down, which opened up Germany to east and west, reuniting that country for the first time. And by 1991, the Soviet Union itself had collapsed under communism. The Cold War was over, and the Iron Curtain was lifted again.